This podcast is being powered by Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, it's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. So, believe it or not, a lot of women's trauma comes from failed relationships, dealing with fuckboys, just having horrible men mistreat us. So today I brought on my friend Yami, who is going to talk about her past, and I will be also exposing the men in my life who mistreated me. So hope y'all enjoy this episode. What up, y'all? Welcome back to Mentally a Badass. My name is Justine, and I have a very special guest. I say it's everything, but everyone's special in my opinion. She actually has her own podcast too, which I'm going to shout that out. It is Cryptidchat with Yami, and she talks about conspiracy theories, right?
Well, we talk about like all the weird stuff, so like the paranormal, the strange, the supernatural. Every now and then we'll dabble in conspiracy theories, but those are getting wild nowadays, so we kind of like.
Oh, really? I just couldn't. Yeah, I listened to a couple of them. They're so much fun to listen to. So I have a fellow podcaster on here. I'm so happy you're here. I felt like it took like a million years to us to get together because stupid COVID.
That's like derailed everyone's plans. Like my life, 2020 when it started was not supposed to end up how it did, but that's okay. Now we're all like finding the flow again, slowly and slowly.
I can't believe it's been a year. We haven't seen each other in a year. A year and a month officially. Last time we saw each other, we were with other people.
Yeah. Yeah. The circumstances were a lot different a year ago.
Which we're gonna talk about in this podcast. I'm not saying any names because out of respect and not trying to call people out. I'm not trying to get sued.
I'll use maybe I'll use initials for me because honestly, there's some people in my life that I really don't care.
Yeah.
But there's some that like.
I mean, it's not really necessary.
I'll be careful.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really necessary. So basically this topic, this week is going to be about relationship trauma that contributes to our mental health, and her and I realized that we share that trauma together, so let's talk about it. So let's go deep down into your past, Yami.
Things I don't like. Not playing.
Let's bring it to the podcast, right? So let's start with, when did you have your first boyfriends?
Well, that's a great question. I'm gonna put my water bottle down for this. So first boyfriend, I really didn't start dating until like literally almost my senior year of high school. Like my parents weren't really fond of us dating in general, so like, you know, they were like, you shouldn't date until you're like 18. So we tried to kind of follow that, but like I had somebody like I kind of was seeing at like 16, and that turned into like the worst one of the worst mistakes of my life. But my first boyfriend technically was at 18 years old.
Really?
So, yeah.
I thought there was stuff going on during high school. Like,
I mean, there
was
a
different party that told me.
There was like I had like crushes and people had crushes on me, but like there was never anything like.
You're so like, pure.
Like.
Okay, I feel like as of right now, so far, when it comes to like points for the game or whatever, you're more pure than me. I had my first boyfriend when I was 13 years old.
I'm gonna lose those points real quick. Don't worry, we're gonna rack up real quick.
No, I got some stuff I gotta say. I'm probably gonna be like saying things that I've never told people before on this podcast because I just don't care. Right now.
Let it out. Because, it's good.
I mean, it is good to, be real with it because people listen like, okay, I'm gonna, be real too. Because when people do things, they follow people, and that's just kind of how it is. So, yeah, I was 13 when I had my first boyfriend, and that around 13, 14 was when I was like my most insecure.
Gotcha.
So when I was dating this guy, I was like a cheerleader at one point.
Okay,
right.
pop off.
Okay, and then I dated like a football player, and I thought I was like the coolest girl ever, right?
Living the dream.
And I had my first kiss at a Valentine's Day dance.
This is like a movie. This is a movie.
Oh, it's tragic. And then
so even more like a movie.
Exactly. So yeah, so whatever. I had my first kiss, and I dated this guy for like 2 weeks. I thought I was gonna marry him.
We all, everybody at that age.
Oh my God, I was so
Yep.
like, just like me at 25 now, just thinking like how I thought, like, oh my gosh. I was like, because I guess in my head I'm just like, I'm never gonna find a guy to marry.
Yep.
And I just cared so much at the time, like. I was like caring so much about finding the love of my life at 13, and I'm just like, why am I even thinking that?
Mhm.
So I had my first kid, like, oh, he's the one, you know, because you don't know what you feel butterflies, and you're like, oh, he's the one.
That's it.
And then he broke up with me because he wanted to date my friends.
Wow. Football player.
He was like, yeah, I want your other friends. I was like, okay, cool. Okay.
Trash.
And then he would like talk so much shit about me too. He'd be like, oh, she was a horrible kisser. Yeah, that was happening right after that. So that was like my first like heartbreak. Like I was like, I remember when he broke up with me, I was in my basement. It was like on the phone too. Like it wasn't like even in person.
Damn.
And I was like crying so hard. I was like having a mental breakdown. And I think my dad heard. He just kind of ignored it and just like, I'll go back upstairs.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Let me just let her have her little teenage breakdown. So there's that. And then I dated another guy for like 2 weeks or whatever. No, I think it was 3 weeks this time. We didn't even see each other. And this is where like I don't even think that I'm gonna say this in public because I just don't care. I don't think I even told people unless like really close friends, but I was a little whore and I cheated on him. So like when people ask me if I ever cheated on a guy, I'm just like, okay, so in technicality, yes, but I was like 13 years old and stupid,
so
and it was like a stupid little tweeny bopper relationship.
It's like
it was just like, I don't know, that was like part of me just like I needed like that connection. That other guy wasn't giving it to me because we couldn't see each other, and it was no one's fault. Like where he lived in the town next door to me, it's like a huge bridge in between, so it's not really safe to be walking over it.
Yeah.
And we didn't have cars, obviously, to drive, so we never saw each other. So that's what happened. I don't know if he ever found out. I think he did. I think he did, because one time I think he texted me calling me a slut or something like that.
Oh, nice.
I don't remember, but I think so. So there was that, and I'm trying to like catch up with my like high school stuff, and then we'll talk about college. So I'm getting them points here.
I'll rack them up when I go into the details of high school. High school is just a fun time.
And then after him, this is a funny one. So the third guy I dated for 3 months. This was like my first like serious relationship, right? He was like a skater boy. I was like, okay, now we'll do this. I had a thing for skater guys.
I feel that.
Yeah. And at the time, that's one my mom knew about. And that was like my first one that my parents knew about, because when they found, I don't know how they found that I was dating this guy, but I remember my mom was like, you're not dating a guy, and like the whole lecture. And then I was like crying, and I was like, no, mommy, I love him. No, I love him.
I picture it in my head because I've literally had similar conversations with my parents.
My mom, she literally always jokes with me on that. She like calls me on it. She's like, remember that time when you were like 14? You were like, but mommy, I love him.
You're like, thanks, mom.
She probably did on my wedding, honestly.
Yeah, my mom would too. So that's okay. Thanks, parents, for being so supportive and loving all the time.
Yeah, and then we broke up, and then he dated a girl like 3 days after me. So this is kind of a trend in my love life. I think you and I both know that this is a trend in my love life, right? So
you know what's interesting about relationships? I feel like sometimes you see, like, I think without meaning to, you begin to like notice trends, and it like, I don't know about you, but like for me, it makes me so paranoid. I'm like, is this me? Right? Is it just me? Is this my trend? Is this like what, like, this is going to be a perpetual thing in my life? Like, I just have to deal with it? Like, or just the people I choose to date, just terrible people? Like,
yeah, this one friend I had, she says, like, Justine, we're like the foster girlfriends, you know? It's like you date them, and then you foster them until they go to...
Oh my gosh!
It's kind of funny, though.
I've never heard that song.
I've never, until she told me, because I was talking to her, because we were hanging out at the beach a couple of weeks ago, and I was like telling her, you know, like my whole, you know the story. And I just told her like how it happened and stuff. She's like, yeah, that's happened to me multiple times. Like I dated this guy for like 2 years, and then he broke up with me, and then started dating another girl, and now like they're getting married.
Oh. Nice.
So she was like, yeah, we're like the foster girlfriends. You know, we foster them until they're ready to go out.
And then they leave the nest. And oh gosh, that's so terrible.
I think my mom said something. She didn't say foster, but she's like, just think about it like this, Justine. You are basically helping them. Not helping them, but like...
You're like... It's supposed to make me feel better?
I forgot what my mom said, but she basically said something similar like that. Like, I'm just the kind of one that nurtures them, and then they just go and find them.
I feel that. Wow, that resonated a little too deep with me.
So let me skip forward. Okay, then I dated a guy for a year, and then he dated a girl like a month after me. I think I have a theory that he left me for her because like there was a lot of like weird stuff going on where he was like being distant, and then and then they were hanging out a lot. And this guy that I dated for a year, it took me literally like 3 years to get over him.
For some reason, that's a solid relationship though. Like a year, like that's a long time. Like in
16-year-old Justine.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah, I was 15 when I started dating him, and 16 when we broke up. And he I don't know, I literally took so long to get over him.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what it is about him, but it took me like into college to get over this guy. It was just really weird. Well, then after that, then I dated this other guy who lived in my basement.
Wait, I'm gonna need to unpack that real quick. He lived in your basement? Did he live in your basement before you started dating? After? Like, how did he get to the basement?
So, no. I mean, yeah, we did it before he got to the basement, obviously. Basically, he was homeless. So my mom, my parents took him in for a couple months until he went to, I just like to say it just because it's just kind of like funny. Like I had a boyfriend that lived in my basement. But no, him and I broke up because he was too clingy.
Okay.
I kind of like feel bad if he hears this, but he already knows where we broke up, so it's fine. It was a while ago. But no, he's not a bad guy. He didn't also jump to a new girl right away. Like, I mean, he did date a girl obviously after me, but it was like a decent amount of time where it was respectful. And yeah, no, he was the guy I lost my virginity to. And I lost my virginity in a really weird place.
The basement?
No!
Me assuming I'm like the basement?
No, that one I'll talk to you after once we get off the in the basement.
I mean, it was a guess. I'm like, he lives in the basement.
That's a fair.
That'd be like a low key like.
That's a fair question to ask, though.
Low key, like a little like.
That wouldn't even be a weird place in my mind. Like I guess weirder places.
Yeah. Yeah. Same. I'm exposing myself over here.
That conversation would be off
same
audio.
It would just be like that sometimes.
Right. Okay, now we're in college, so let's start college, Yami. You go, girl.
Okay, so I'm going to really dive quickly through high school. That was the worst of my trauma was through high school. Like, I briefly mentioned the two, but, like, I'm going to have to give some context. So the first guy that I ever, like, spoke to when I was 16, he was 19, almost 20 years old. So, first of all, that shouldn't have been a thing. When you were in
high school?
Yes.
Okay. I have.
So it was like through church, and this is definitely like looking back at it, I realized that was definitely inappropriate. And because he was like somebody in like leadership, he should not have been approaching me as a, whatever. So that should have been a red flag. But like he was really close to the family, so like the family trusted him enough that we could hang out. And like,
how old was he? He was 20.
He was turning 20.
And you were
16.
So it's illegal.
Just turned 16.
Right. So it's illegal, but it's not fully weird.
It's like a weird gray area. Because my parents were technically 18. Okay with us hanging out.
Oh, okay.
They would not have been okay with the things that happened though. That was the So long story short, he was like, I thought like I was in love, blah, blah, blah. I was definitely not. I was just infatuated and somebody gave me attention.
That's exactly what it was. Yeah, someone gave me attention.
Yeah, because prior to that, I was like a quiet child. No one
liked me when I was
nobody
in grade school.
Liked me.
I was the girl that nobody liked. No one had a crush on. So I think that's why I reacted to that one boy I dated when I was in 8th grade.
Same, 100%. So I was like, and looking back, I was like, ooh. you could have done so much better, sis. But yeah, no, things went really bad in that. Like, long story short, he passed boundaries he should not have, and I should have taken this man to jail, but like, at the time I was a child, so I didn't even know that was a thing. I was like, whatever. And it triggered my first mental breakdown. And I didn't even know that's what partially triggered it. So like that, like, derailed my whole life. I pulled out of school. I went online school for a year, and then I did all sorts of messed me up.
Oh wow.
And then I meet this guy through a mutual friend, and we were hanging out, and homeboy was like really flirty, and I was just like, I was still in the funk of the last, and I was like, I no thank you. So he started talking to my friend, but we became really good friends. Like, we became like best friends, and then eventually he realized my friend was not gonna pay any attention to him, and was like, I hope you know that I was always trying to pursue you. You didn't pay attention to me, so I tried with her, but like, I didn't like her ever, really. I was just kind of like, I'm like, oh, okay, I don't know how to feel about this. But anyway, we gave it a shot. And that was my first serious relationship.
Okay.
So that was the first boyfriend, 18 years old. He's a pastor's son. I won't say names because there's like a lot of people going to know who he is.
I love how you with your glasses.
Yeah, there's a lot of people going to know who he is. I should say names, but I won't. For legalities.
It's not needed.
I will say that was the worst relationship I've ever had.
How long did you guys date?
We were dating on and off. It was one of those. Okay. For a good solid 3.5, 4 years. Like, on and off, on and off, on and off.
Oh,
it was toxic.
It's very toxic. Was that the person that you were going to marry?
Toxic. He wanted to marry me.
We all want to marry Yami.
And he wanted to marry me.
By the way, Yami's getting married.
I am actually getting married.
She actually has a happy ending. I'm still trying to find mine.
The one solid relationship of my life.
We love AJ. AJ's great.
I know.
Shout out to AJ.
The one solid relationship of my life. It took a long time to get there, but we got there eventually. But he was just emotionally and verbally, mentally abusive. So that was just terrible. And like, there was so many things that went wrong in that relationship. Should never happen again. Just terrible. Bad. And in the end, he was like coming back from like overseas from being in school, and literally I dumped his ass over the phone, and I was like, I don't know what. I woke up one day and I was like, I don't ever want to see you again. Like, don't come here and propose to me. Your stuff is on the curb of our house. Don't come here.
Curb.
Literally,
we put it curb.
My mom and me were so dramatic. We put all his stuff at the curb, but it felt so good to finally get rid of him. And that sounds terrible.
He didn't put on fire.
That would have felt terrible, but like it
kicked it to the curb, literally.
It had to happen, and that was like the best decision of my life, was to drop that. And then I was like in this soul searching period of like, I'm going to take some time for myself, because that's when I started college. And I was like, I'm going to expand my horizons and make new friends, and that's not what I did. That's not what I did, because we don't learn.
Well, at least you're at a good spot in your life right now.
I wasn't. Yeah. It didn't say. Well, it didn't get worse. It didn't get worse. It just.
So what did you do instead of finding yourself?
So I began to like talk to a few people, and it just never. Things never went anywhere. Right. But I was not heartbroken. It was just kind of like, you can shoot your shot, whatever. And that was when that's when I had some male friends of mine like confess to me simultaneously, basically, and I was like, I can't do this.
Confess like their love for you or something?
I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. And the worst part is that like I had like low-key feels for one of them throughout high school, and I never wanted to breach that. So I just convinced myself, like, no, you can't do this. You're not in a good place right now. You can't do this. You can't want this right now. Funny enough, that's the person I'm about to marry.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Well, because I know a little bit about your love life, because, like, so, podcast people, audience. So, her and I actually met through my ex-boyfriend. Cheers. So like I knew it's interesting. Like I knew a little bit about her love life from this guy's perspective, and he actually like kept you. I know he had a thing for you at one.
He was one of the ones that confessed simultaneously.
You know what's really funny? Yep. I think I told the story, but I'm going to say it anyway. But there was one time him and I were dating, and I already met you. We met at the coffee shop, and I'm like, oh, yeah. Like he introduced like, oh, these are my really good friends, and like we're, you know, remember you guys like actually saw me. And then like AJ like ran out the back door or something like that.
Oh yeah, because we got there early and we were like, oh my god, we don't want to look like stalkers. No, we're just gonna wait in the car.
I remember AJ staring at me. I was like, what is this weirdo doing? Like, I'm not even lying. He like stared. I was like, literally.
Yeah, he was like, I think he's with the girl. I'm like, what?
It was just I
think he's with the girl. I'm like, go back in the car. Don't make it look like we like stalked him.
It was so I do remember this. I was like I was having a coffee. I was, you know, studying for something. And also I'm like, why is these group people just staring at me? Yep. They're like AJ was like
he's not subtle.
He was like kind of creeping at me. I was like, what is wrong with this town?
Yeah. Like everything, but
oh my god, that's so funny. But I don't think we met that day. Or did we? I don't remember.
I think we were supposed to meet that day, but then we ended up meeting like another day. Like formally sit down all together.
So you guys like, it's funny, you guys like met me, like didn't meet me. Yeah. And it was just, that's so funny. And then, so anyway, so I met you guys and I'm like, oh, they're cool people, whatever. And then he always talked about this one girl. He had like a really big crush on, like broke his heart, like broke his heart, like changed, like smashed, like became a whore kind of, you know, heartbreak kind of thing.
Damn.
Like not even lying. Like the way he talked about this girl made it seem like she was like a horrible human being, and like
I'm so horrible. We stayed friends.
Like, oh yeah, she broke my heart and just smashed it into pieces. Kind of thing. And I was like, oh, okay. And you know, I never asked for the name because I just didn't think there was any reason to ask for the name, you know, like just talking with this girl from high school and such. And then later on, like we're just hanging out in my room, whatever. And I don't know how we got into conversation. And then
it came out
that it was you.
Wow.
And I was like, what? I was like, you mean that girl you introduced me to that we're like now friends? She's like, oh yeah. And I'm like, why didn't you tell me? I feel like that's kind of important to tell me. And he's like, oh, I didn't see any reason to. I'm like, oh, so you didn't think it was, you know, you don't think that you should have told me that your best friend was the girl that broke your heart in high school?
No.
Apparently not. And I'm just like, I don't know if I'm like, it's not like I'm going to not trust you. Like I'm like,
I should know.
I didn't even think like that. And in my head, I'm just like, it was high school. It was a while ago.
Yeah.
Plus, like, you're dating AJ.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean. And so I'm like, I'm not the kind of girl that would like not trust you with your friends. Like, obviously, like, because it was interesting. He would talk very highly of you as like really good friends when him and I first started dating. And then talked so down about this other girl, which is like the same girl, which is just like, that's like where I was like mind blown. I'm like, you would talk so highly of Yami as your friend, but then talk so down about her as your like person that you were like apparently like in love with, that broke your heart, like literally smash it into pieces, that you had to become a whore after, apparently.
Damn, I just got that effect. Every man's that comes through my life, I wreck them after.
Yeah, you should.
Actually, a little bit.
Oh, okay.
A little bit.
Oh my god, have you ever heard of that podcast, Call Her Daddy?
Yes.
I feel like
through my sister, I've heard of it.
I feel like this is like turning into one of like their conversations.
Oh, they're so good.
It really is. Like
solid.
Spilling the tea. The tea is fucking hot.
I love it though.
I love her.
It needs to just come out sometimes.
It does. I mean, this does relate to our mental health, so it's not like it's not, you know.
Yeah, no.
So,
like relationships affect your mental health.
Oh, it does.
I think more than people either one realize it or want to admit it.
Mm-hmm. No, it really does. Like it actually affected my mental health a lot because I was like really badly treated by guys in high school. Like I'm not even lying. Like when I was like 15 maybe or whatever, before the one that I dated for a year, like I was hooking up with like my ex because the one that I was like, oh, I love him. That guy, right? And I was like, I think I broke up with him because I was so insecure that I just assumed he was gonna break up with me. So I just
Gotcha.
broke up with
Okay.
all those guys because I'm like, they're all gonna leave me anyway. So I just broke up with everybody. And I you know, I hurt myself because then I'm like, I wanted them back. And then they dated with a girl, and then I was just like, I remember how psychotic I was as a freshman in high school. Because I like knew his schedule. It was like that kind of crazy. I'm not even like, I would just like, okay, I know his homeroom is here, so I'm just gonna like casually be at the hallway at the same time he comes out.
I feel like though, like that's not uncommon of high school behavior. Like
I know.
I definitely knew my crushes like approximate schedules and places that they like to frequent. Because you like try to like, you know, hang around them and see maybe that one day something magical will happen and they'll notice you exist.
Yes!
So that was it.
Exactly. It was like the movie's like, oh, he's like,
yeah, the wind blows your hair and the sun shines like perfectly on your eyes that they suddenly notice how beautiful you are, and then you start dating. No, that never happened to me.
Yeah, no, seriously. I would never forget. Like, I feel like that's probably when I was at my lowest with a guy. Like, basically me not realizing the baddest bitch I really am, and just like,
I feel that, yeah.
And then just kind of like thinking I was worthless and that like I was never gonna find another guy. Yep. So I was trying so hard to get this other guy, and then like he was like the first guy I like foreplayed with. So I remember like I was like 15 or we were foreplaying whatever, and his grandma was coming home. That'll kill the mood. So I had to leave. So he kicked me out of the basement.
Dang, that sucks.
And it was fucking raining. It was a fucking storm. It was fucking raining. And I was like, oh shit, like I need to find a place to go. So I called my friend who was on the other side of town. I was like, hey, I gotta like, you know, I need some shelter. She's like, okay, yeah, you can come over. It was like a 20-minute walk. I was walking in the fucking rain, like crying, like feeling like my first, yeah. I would never forget that day. Never fucking forget that.
You know, it's funny when you look back at like memories like this, like it's funny to laugh at them, but like in the moments when they happen, like they hurt. Like
they hurt to the point
that like they, like you said, like I will never forget. Like
I
have like pinnacle moments of my life that like again now I can laugh at them, but like I literally will probably be like 80 years old and I'll still be able to vividly remember exactly how I felt and what was said to me. I will remember that.
I felt very ashamed.
I
felt very ashamed of myself that day.
Yeah.
Because I was doing things where I felt like this would make me win him back kind of thing. And then like him just not giving a fuck and just dropping me. Exactly, and let me tell you this fucking story. Okay, listen to this. So right now, tables have fucking turned. And in college, he was like so into me and whatever. And then he like invited me over. And at the time, I was like more confident in myself. So like we foreplayed and stuff, and he was like trying to have sex with me, and I was like, nah, I'm good. Like I literally teased him, I led him on, and I was like, bye, I'll leave him on my own.
Guess who's gonna walk in the rain? Not me.
Oh, at the time I had a car. I was like 19 or whatever. No, yeah, seriously, I purposely went over just to lead him on and leave.
You know, I can't say shit because like as much as we get told like to like not do certain things and to be the better person, like sometimes when like stuff like that happens to us, like let's be realistic, you get tired of it at one point of being treated in a certain way, and you kind of want to take the control, you want to take the wheel, you want to get like whether for revenge or you just want to like. And so I've definitely not sorry to like my toxic ex, I definitely did that several times. Like I was like, I'm like, you were a selfish hoe. So guess what? Now I'm going to be selfish.
Right.
So like, and it feels good, but then like, I know for me in the long run, I was like, this is nice, but.
Yeah, I mean, now I don't do that anymore.
I'm too soft at the end of the day, and I can't do this routinely. That's just not me.
It was such a good revenge, though.
It did feel good in the moment. I won't lie.
Like, there was you want to have sex with me? And I was like, no, you missed your chance. So I'm not into you anymore. No. And you know what's funny now is that about 2 years ago, he like was messaging me on Instagram, and he slid into my DMs. Because you know, all my ex-boyfriends slide into my DMs. Like, oh, how's Florida? How's working for Disney? Great. I left Jersey for a fucking reason. And then like, oh, I'm coming to Florida soon. I'm like, that's great.
Congratulations.
And then listen to this. So that happened, and then I think a couple days later, his baby mama sliced into my DMs.
Oh! Not the baby mama.
No, she was actually pretty cool though. I actually had respect for her. She wasn't really like mean to me, but she definitely was like concerned, but she listened to my side at least.
That's good.
And I did tell her, I'm like,
That's
hey
good.
girl, like I get where you're coming from, but I think you need to talk with him. And then she just asked me to like unfollow him and stuff like that. I'm like, whatever, I don't give a fuck. Like I don't need him in my life, obviously. Like I'll block him, whatever you want.
Hi y'all, I hope you guys are enjoying this episode. The best way for my podcast to grow is for you guys to share my podcast to your friends, family, neighbors, coworkers, or a random person on the street, or whoever that had ears that can listen to audio. That is how we grow. Leaving me a review on Apple Podcasts is also very helpful as well. Lastly, you totally do not have to do this, but if you want to support my dream of being a content creator full-time, you could donate as low as $1 through listener support that is linked in my podcast bio. Alrighty, I'm done here. Now let's continue the rest of the episode.
Okay, so you know what's funny too? Actually, like probably a couple of months ago, he like follows me again on Instagram. Not even fucking lying.
Oh,
he liked my video yesterday too. Of like
some
my
people never
reel.
learn.
And I don't follow him back, obviously, because I don't need to have. I don't know what's going on in his life, but
there's definitely people that like, no matter what you do, I feel like sometimes they just kind of hover around, and you just have to be the stronger person to be like, no,
he's not like he's not like my type anymore. Like he was like my 14-year-old teenage skater.
Yeah.
Like now he's like now he's like a dad. I mean, nothing wrong being dad, of course, but like I definitely wouldn't want to be having a kid at this age. Like I'm not ready for a kid. I want to like live my life or whatever. Like that's just kind of like how I am.
Yeah, you're at two different stages of life. Like,
so in a way, I guess I kind of like dodged a bullet because I did not want to be having a kid. Like this was like I think he had his kid like 2 or 3 years ago or whatever.
Okay, so yeah,
so it was fairly young. So there was that, and then there was this one guy that I actually never even dated. Oh, I remember this. This is actually was happening during my insecure years. So there was this guy, like he was like, a rock star kind of thing, like in a band and whatever with his brothers. And
I just look at my sister because she's just like not silently nodding in the background, like, yeah.
Yeah. And so I remember that I like thought he was really cute, and then like, we like made out in his backyard kind of thing. And then he said he liked me, whatever, right?
And you're like, ooh.
And I was like, okay, cool. Literally 24 hours later on Facebook, blah, 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 is in a relationship, blah, blah, blah.
Wow.
So there's that.
I haven't had any of those.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough.
I remember one time I bought like this other guy's girl's prom dress for her or something like that. It's something really, I don't know. I was fucking a mess in high school. I was just like, people fucking treating me like shit.
I think the thing though with high school is like, we're still trying to figure out ourselves. And like, I think honestly, most of us are insecure periods. We're in high school because we're still trying to figure out who we are. We're trying to fit in. We want friends. We want love. We want all these things that are supposed to like make up the quote unquote high school experience.
Yeah.
And like in doing that, we make terrible mistakes or poor decisions that when we look back, we're like, what the heck?
Yeah, because honestly, with this particular guy, like we used to do play together, and I liked him, and then like we like made out after play practice, and it was like so romantic behind the stairs.
I love that.
It was like behind the stairs, like a spot,
yeah.
Right? And then like we're holding hands, whatever. And then I'm thinking he's like gonna ask me to like prom or whatever, right? It was like junior prom at the time. And then he was like talking about junior prom, and I was like, oh, he's gonna ask me. He's like, oh, I'm taking this person. I was like,
am I a joke to you, sir? Yeah.
I was royally fucked over, just as usual. And then so that was, I just had like so those are like kind of like the talking people throughout my high school. Got a lot of those, and there's like other stuff too, but if I bring up all of them, it's just gonna be like a 2-hour podcast conversation. Like I'm not even like, there's so much that my sister is very lucky. She like dated like 2 guys, and the second guy she married and had kids with.
Oh dang.
How simple.
That must be nice.
How simple. Like,
but that's the thing. Everybody's relationship life is different. Like, there's no rubric for how it's supposed to go. Like, and I feel like as much as we don't want to have like mess ups or mistakes, like I know for a fact, like as much as I didn't want them in my life, I definitely learned.
Yeah, a lot of learning.
From those, like about myself, about what I wanted, about relationships. Like, could I have learned those things outside of that? Probably yes, with a lot less heartache. But like, I definitely learned a lot about myself, and like, while my mental health was completely wrecked along the process, I like was able to learn enough to prevent that from happening from the same sources, at least.
Right.
Like, not while I was in those relationships. No. They were wrecking my mental health left and right. But like, once I left, I knew enough to like not go back to that.
Right.
Ish. Ish. And then college hit, and then I had another serious relationship, and that was like that was another turning point. You have relationship turning points where you like, it's like that one person where you're like, this was a significant moment in my life because it changed me somehow, whether in a good way or a bad way. And that was definitely one of those, for sure.
I feel like mine has like, I definitely made my standards a lot higher.
Yep.
And then I literally thought my last relationship was like the one, like, okay, like he treated me so well, like such a good guy, like so like husband worthy.
The hubby material.
Yeah, right? Like he would like clean my freaking bathroom for me and shit. Like it was like the real.
Okay, hold up now.
What?
Now I'm gonna tell AJ, I'm gonna call him out this. Can you come clean my bathroom? You're gonna have to clean the bathrooms anyway in the future, so.
Apparently he liked cleaning tubs. I don't know.
Weird flex, but okay.
I don't know.
Interesting. I mean,
he would also like. I think one time he fold my clothes. Like he was like
okay.
like when he was living with me for like during quarantine. Yeah. Like he was like the housewife because he didn't have like at the time he didn't have a job. Well, I mean he had a job, but he was like furloughed.
Yeah.
So like he would stay at my place for a majority of the week because like. Why not? You know, like he was doing school online and then he was furloughed so he could be here. And like literally like during the day, he would just like, he likes being clean. So he would just like clean around, he would like do my dishes for me. And I'll be like, can I have some coffee? Maybe coffee. Like that was like, okay, that was like kind of like the hype, like the highest part of our relationship was during that because he was like, wow, I'm like, wow, you're such a wife.
Very domestic life.
He's very domestic. He really is.
I can't say anything. AJ loves to cook, and I'm so happy.
Oh, no, he can cook.
I can...
No, I'm sure AJ can cook. I meant the other person can't cook. I cooked for him. So I did that. I cooked for him.
50-50.
Yeah, I cooked, he cleaned kind of thing. So a lot of that. And I just kind of completely switched the conversation. Like,
Or the turning point relationships. Those, like...
Oh yeah,
we
so
learned
I thought
about the standards.
It was kind of like, I thought he was the one kind of thing, you know? But then it got really toxic at the end when I realized what he was doing was toxic, you know? Like judging what I would wear and being judgy and just things I didn't realize it until like the end of, like, you know, during the election time and realizing what we really value. And, but he told me today that he's actually realizing certain things, which is good to hear. Good to hear.
We love growth. I think that's the thing with the relationship is that, like, if anyone's listening and is in a relationship, contemplating a relationship, in some sort of limbo in a relationship, whatever it may be, like, I literally think people need to talk about important things and subjects. Like, honestly, just do it as soon as you can if you're thinking about somebody seriously, because, like, those things will come up. They will come up. If you think they won't or that they don't really matter, at some point, I can guarantee you they will. Like, it really does. And it can make or break some relationships. Sometimes you can like work around the differences. Sometimes the differences aren't really that big, or like you're willing to compromise. But there are sometimes people like, or morals or certain things that people just don't want to compromise from. And like, I respect that. That's on you, you know, but like, I also don't want to, there's things I know I won't compromise for, like that this is who I am and who I stand for. But like in a relationship, like you like, I do think you need to talk about that stuff because like, yeah, it really does. Like when I look back at like a lot of relationships, I didn't do that enough. And the one relationship that I did, it ended up breaking horribly because of that. Like, but it needed to because of that. Like it wouldn't have, I could have lived a happy domestic life, or let me rephrase it. I would have lived a content domestic life comfortably but I would have never been happy, and I would have never been fully myself in it.
Yeah, I couldn't be fully myself with him, to be honest. Like, I really couldn't. So, like, I feel like when I was dating him, I was had to be a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to kind of like downplay, not that, like, what is that called? Like,
you kind of like mute yourself.
Like, mute my, like, filter certain things. Like, I couldn't be my true self kind of thing. And because, you know, like, when I feel like it was kind of like having strict parents.
Yeah.
And then once, like, I'm not with the strict parent anymore, then I become, like, I go rebelling and stuff like that. Like, seriously, like, after him and I, like, stopped dating, I was like, let's fucking come out with a podcast. I'm mentally a fucking badass. Like,
you're like, let it live.
And let's just say all the shit that I did online, and let me do everything that he didn't want me to do. Like, remember how he was trying to silence me on social media? Mm-hmm. Remember that? Mm-hmm. So now it's like, we broke up, and I'm like, now I have a fucking podcast, and I'm saying a lot of stuff that is very, like, inappropriate, which is fine because, you know, I'm an adult, you know?
Yeah, it's so good to, like, in being in a relationship where you can just be who you are. And honestly, I think that's the only way a relationship can fully work in any healthy capacity, is when you feel like you can just be exactly who you are, and it's okay. You don't have to meet yourself. You don't have to filter yourself, because that's draining. It's taxing. Like, it really affects you on the daily. Like, it's not healthy. Like, it can be a great person. Because, like, in my case, like, when I got to college, I actually, I got engaged. Not this time. Like, this is
my favorite story.
This was the first engagement.
Let's talk about this story. I love it.
So he was a great guy. He was literally, like, because I changed my standards, and, like, he was, like, I honestly thought it was, like, way above my, like, standard. Like, I was like, I'm like a solid 7, and he's like a good, like, 9. I'm like, just by looks alone, this should not be a thing at all, but somehow it worked out. I have no idea how. And, like, I thought, like, this is it. I'm like, this is perfect. He's perfect. He has everything that I like. He's religious, all this stuff. And then, like, we didn't date long enough. That was the first mistake. Okay. We only dated, like, maybe 6 months before we got engaged. Not good. Don't do that.
Not always. I mean, I know a lot of people who actually...
Don't do that if you're me.
Okay.
For some people, it works great.
It just depends.
Yeah.
Everyone's different.
Not good for me. So once we started wedding planning, that's when all the ugly skeletons came out. I was very candid from the beginning with him, and I was like, this is who I am. This is my past. It's not clean. It's not spotless. You're not going to get that. Like, if you're looking for that, sorry, you're not going to get that from me. And it became a point of contention in our relationship because, like, he was religious to a certain point, and, like, he had conducted himself in a certain way with his behaviors that I had not, and he felt very insecure about that in himself. Like it bothered him that he wasn't, like, in my life doing certain things. Like, he wasn't that person, and why didn't I wait till him, basically, and why can't blank blank blank? Because, like, why do other people's, like, mistakes and the choices you made with them, why should they affect, like, our relationship? And to which it began to make me really mad and really bitter, because I was like, you have no right to ask me any of those things. I don't owe you anything. I'm a woman, and any person does not owe you anything. I don't have to be any particular way for you.
Exactly.
Like, let's get that out of the way right now.
Yeah.
I don't owe you crap.
Crap.
I literally was like, no. And then I was, like, really strong with, I'm honest. Like, I'm a strong, like, social justice person. I'm huge for, I'm a big feminist. Like,
That's how you and I got closer.
Like, I have strong, like, stances for things. He was more wishy-washy. But, like, when it came to religion, like, I thought we understood the same thing, but he was a little bit more conservative, to the point where I felt like I was going to turn into housewife. And that's okay for some people, and I'm not bashing that at all, but that could not work for my stance. Like, like, for who I am as a person.
You have a voice, you need to be like...
Yeah, and basically my voice was, like, it was a question mark of how much I was going to be able to use that. Not that he would mute me, but the people around him would. No doubt. And I was like, no. And then 3, I had this like huge mental awakening at this point in time with like who my identity was as a person and stuff like that. And I began to have a crush on a coworker, who wasn't my usual type. I'm gonna just say it like that. I'm not gonna allude to anything particularly because it's not exactly open information yet.
Yeah.
But that really like messed with my head because I was like, what is wrong with me? No, and this and that. And I knew like if I like had this conversation with him, he would never understand. It would become another insecurity in our life. So I was like, I can't marry him. I can't. He's a great guy, but this is not going to work out.
Yeah, and your fiance now is supposed to be your bro of honor, right?
Yes, my fiance was my bro of honor at my wedding. That was wild and like
AJ fucking won.
He's
AJ's king.
He's a gem. I'm so sorry I made him wait like a good 8 years.
AJ is king.
8 years. Jesus, what man's does that?
I wish he was here so he could like say his side of the story.
What man's does that? But like
that was like he was your soulmate this whole time.
Like, and it's funny because like I would literally name drop like when I was in my last relationship, I would literally like be like, hun, I love you, but I hope you know that AJ is always my soulmate. I would literally say that.
No.
I don't know who I was to say those things. I would literally, but I would be like, he's like my best friend's soulmate. And he would just be, he actually never had any issue with that, which was probably should have been a red flag too. Until things broke up with us, and the first thing he did was blame AJ, and I was like
dying so fucking
I literally
hard.
told him that once, but I was like best friend.
You secretly loved AJ this whole time. You secretly was in love with AJ this whole time.
I will say toward the end of the relationship, like I
would
was
do a movie on you or something.
I need to write a book.
Like I
need to write a book.
Write a book. Oh, if you write a book, can I turn into a movie?
I would love to. I would do it, but like
I want to make a horror movie.
Toward the end of our relationship, though, like me and the guy, I began to like make like pros and cons lists, and like all the stuff that I was looking for, I had another identity crisis because I realized it existed in a person in my life, and that was AJ. But I didn't want to rebound. I didn't want to do that all over again. So like I broke up the engagement. That was messy. It was terrible. But we both realized at the end of the day, you know what? You're right. We're it's just not compatible. It wouldn't have worked in the long run. Like we would have been okay, but we would have never been happy. So that's when like I took a small break, and then I was like, that's when I had to make like the biggest jump of my life. And I was like, yeah, I think you know what you like, and I think you know what you want, and I think you've always kind of known, but you've just always been so scared to do it, and you never wanted to break up a good friendship with a good person and all this stuff. And I took the plunge, and I began to date my now fiance, and we dated for 2 years.
Love you guys.
And then we got engaged February of this year.
I know, I wish I was
We're going to get married next year.
I wish I was
And I'm
there.
actually going to get married this time. That's to my whole family.
Put it right on here.
That's to my whole family that roasts me all the time. And every time I mention wedding planning, they're like,
you're getting married.
They're like,
you are.
My dad's like, I'll believe it when I see you down the aisle. And I'm like, I hate you for this. I hate you for the roast.
It's so gonna happen.
But
you guys are great. You guys are like meant to be. You guys are soulmates.
The thing is like here's the thing. I will say this, like not to gloat on him or all, but like I think that it works because this is a person that one has known for 10 years of my life through all the ups and downs, has never once judged me through any of those ups and downs, has been my biggest supporter, has always been there for me whenever I've needed it, like, and vice versa. We've always been that person for each other. And then like always just like lifted me up, like all the things that made me lifted me up, and vice versa. So like when we're together, once we started, we were worried like once we started dating, like would everything change? Nothing changed. Literally, it felt like we were still the same. We're just, now we have the benefits of like actually being together.
Yeah.
So like it's still the same, like the way we talk to each other pretty much, except now we use like honey and all that stuff. But like the conversations are still the same. The playfulness is still the same. Like it's just elevated. Like, but I can be myself around him, and he accepts me knowing everything about me and all those things about me, and he doesn't care. It doesn't bother him.
He's very chill.
Yes.
Very
And
chill
we
person.
understand each other. Like I deal with anxiety off the wazoo on any given day.
AJ and I were bonding over taking medication.
Yeah, so he has anxiety as well, and he's medicated. I don't know how the hell I'm not medicated, but
he's so funny. Like because he was, I think at the time we were FaceTiming talking about your stuff.
yeah.
And he was like working, and it was really funny. He thought he had his mic off, and he was like chatting with me about something.
Well,
and it was funny.
Of course he would do that.
Yeah, he was like, "What the heck? I saw it's mute." And then I said, "Just agent." I'm like, "Oh, it was just a funny thing." I'm like, "I'm so sorry. I don't," because I FaceTime it because like I hate texting when we're trying to like.
Yeah, when it's like something like lengthy, just
exactly. I just rather just like FaceTime or whatever. But I didn't know he was working. And then we're just talking about our jobs and whatever. How could we're both in like customer service. Yeah. And then he like shows me all his medication. I was like, AJ. Me too. I got my medication out. He got his medication out. We were just like doing show and tell. It was me and him bonded over that. It was so funny.
It's honestly so great when you have somebody that understands also like the mental side of things.
Because my ex didn't understand that part. He limited me the amount of times I could talk about it.
Like you have to be open about your like emotional mental state, and you have to be. I really strongly recommend you be with somebody that you can be open about that 24/7.
Yeah.
Like,
I couldn't with my relationship, which would really hurt our relationship.
It hurts, yeah. It hurts you and it hurts the relationship at the end of the day.
Yeah, it was horrible. I literally had to limit the amount of times I would complain or this or that. I'm just rough. Like, and I just think it was kind of crazy because him and I were talking about like moving in together, apartment, and he said to me that when I'm like still working from home, we were going to move in together because if him and I were still dating, we'll be moving in together in like 2 months. Yeah. So that was the plan.
Yeah.
And he said that he would not be home when I'm working because he doesn't like that negative energy. And I'm like, it's not like, cause I'll be getting yelled at. Cause like my job, I get yelled at, I get treated like garbage, whatever. And he just didn't want to be around that. And I'm like, you're really gonna
I can't really avoid that, sir. Like,
yeah, it was just the fact that he said that. I'm like, you're making me feel like I'm this big ball of negative energy. Mm-hmm. And so he kind of like made me out to be like that. Like he's like, I know it's not your fault, and I just can't. It's kind of a lot for me. And I'm like, it's a lot for you.
It's a lot for me.
I hated that because like when he was my boyfriend, like I would talk to him, and like he would be like my person. He was that to me. He's like, I can't be your person. Like you're like you're not like my only person. But like when you're dating.
You do have to be comfortable enough to talk about things. I definitely know, like, for example, I'm in counseling right now. And my therapist is always stressing with me, like, I'm glad that you have somebody that you can be open with in a relationship, but make sure that you don't, like, dump on them. And I'm like, I'm guilty. I do that all the time.
Yeah.
But, like, you should be able to tell somebody, you know what? I'm not having a good day right now. You know what? This is bothering me. You know what? This happened. Like, you should be comfortable to say that. It shouldn't.
Yeah.
Like you should never feel barred from that, and vice versa. You should be able to comfortably say those things. And also it's good when the person is like in tune enough with you that they can call you out for when you don't say those things. It's like I'm that person that I'm fine when I'm not fine all the time.
Oh, I'm not. I'm just like
all the time.
I only say I'm fine if I'm like working. Obviously, I gotta stay professional, but
I'm getting better at it. But like he'll look at me and be like, no, you're not. Like, I can literally tell by, like, the way you're texting, you're not fine. I'm like, oh, damn.
See, I can tell because I'm really good at reading body energy.
I'm like, okay, I guess you're right. I'm not fine. Okay. And, like, but it's nice to have that. So, like, it's very important that you just feel comfortable with people enough to talk about things, but also people that respect your space. Because, like, sometimes you want to talk about stuff and sometimes you don't. Sometimes you just need time, you need space. Sometimes you don't have the energy to deal with people, even if it's your significant other. Like you're like, I need a moment. I just need some space, please. Right. And you need to be with somebody that understands that and can respect that, because like if they can't understand that, they can take that as a burden on themselves. Like, what am I doing wrong? They don't want to be with me. Like, so it's just you need a dialogue. You need a dialogue, mental health. You need to talk about things. So that it doesn't become an issue.
And you find somebody who can handle mental health, because I just think he didn't. I just think he didn't like that I had a lot of bad days. And it's just like
you can't really control that.
I can't control that.
Exactly.
And so it's a lot of that. So I think we should probably wrap up because it's gonna be like an hour.
Everyone's like, but yo, this tea,
I know.
it's solid.
I mean, we could do like a part 2, whatever.
It's piping.
It's pumping. I should just like, I want to collaborate with Alex from Call Her Daddy. I feel like her and I would just.
Let me tell you some stories.
Oh my gosh, she's great. She did like a recent episode about like that Nessa and Jaden drama, which I was extremely obsessed with. Like, really obsessed. I'm like ashamed for being that obsessed with it. Like, I really am.
We all have things we're slightly ashamed to be obsessed
Oh
with.
my god, I was investing so much of my day just finding out what's the next thing. Like, now they're getting tattoos together. Now they're doing that. Like, it was a lot. And it was like a lot to talk about in that podcast. So,
as I hold part of my obsession that I spend a lot of my day on.
Oh, I see that. The audience can't see it, but I can see it.
Yep, it's fine.
But yeah,
find your joy somewhere.
And I just feel like there's so much more I can talk about, like other relationships I have. But like, I would be doing this in 2 hours, and I think you got to do your other thing, right? What's your other?
Yeah, man, I be podcasting a lot. So I also have a Star Wars podcast that I co-host.
Yeah, that's cool.
We just like the podcast community is great, and I love getting to meet people in the community. Like, yeah, I love getting to talk about different topics and things like. And regardless of like what you talk about, we all share the human experience. So there's things that we all interlap with no matter what we talk about. So
it just made more sense when I had a podcast because I talk a lot. So I also just like, I mean, I have a YouTube channel too, but I haven't like done anything on that YouTube channel in so long because I've just been focusing on my podcast.
It's kind of easier to podcast. Like you just like,
it's
my voice.
Like I don't even have to like, doll myself up or anything like that. It's so freaking nice. But yeah, let me end it here before I almost said Audacity, before Anchor cuts us off. All right, Yami, thank you so much for being my podcast and releasing your trauma for us today.
It's therapeutic.
I
love reliving things. My therapist said that's a good thing for me to do. So she's going to be so proud when I tell her.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my God.
She's like, you need to talk about it.
You need to talk about it. You need to talk about your trauma. You need to work through it. And it's so true. And I mean, right now, I haven't found my happily ever just yet, but I'll eventually find my happily ever after. It's fine. Maybe it's just me. I just need to be with me the rest of my life.
You know what? At the end of the day, you should be with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah,
like no matter what your status is, be in love with your. I know. I'm like at odds with that thing. Like love yourself, but like just love yourself always. Love yourself whether you're with somebody or not. Love yourself.
You can't date someone unless you love yourself first.
Love yourself, sis.
Exactly.
Love yourself. Treat yourself. Take care of yourself. And the rest will fall into place.
No, of course. That's always first. All right. Well, thanks guys for listening, and I will not seeing anybody.
I always say that.
This is when I've been a YouTuber.
I always say that.
I always say see because I am still because I'm a YouTuber, but I'm just so used to saying like thanks for watching. Yep. See you guys next time for another video. Yeah. And I'm just like thanks for listening. Yep. I will upload this on a Saturday
at some point in
something. I aim for every Saturdays. If you want to follow me on them socials, I'll have that in my description. I'll have Yami's on there in the description. Go follow her podcast, Cryptidchat, to hear some interesting stuff. And I love you guys and peace out.